Hello and welcome back to Woodhill Park. I've not been great lately, as I went to Worley at the NEC and had a great time, but brought away more than I bargained for and got a touch of COVID, which I recovered from pretty well, but the second week, like most people seem to say, it sort of gives you fatigue, and I've been a bit out of breath and lacking motivation really. So thanks for all your well wishing, it's much appreciated, and I'm well on the mend now, and I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And just a quick update from me, as I haven't had a great deal of motivation, as I said, to put much together, but hopefully you enjoy this little update for Christmas. Thank you, and enjoy the video hopefully. You'll have to excuse a bit of a deep voice at the moment, because after my trip to Worley I got COVID, so it wasn't much of a bargain, but I bought this bridge a while back from a toy fair and it was in pretty poor shape, so I took it all apart. It's made of fiberglass and a moulding of some sort, so probably like Isopon P38 or something, but it's a good moulding, but somebody put it together rather sloppily, so I took it apart and I aerodated it back together after cutting it around, and it's not looking too bad. But now I've been wondering where the hell I'm going to use it. It's a nice looking bridge, and with a bit more weathering and messing around, I think it might look quite good on the layout. So I've been thinking of installing it across the embankment that I'm going to work on. It's got quite a lot of character, and it's will nicely hug the sides of my embankment, as you can see if I pull it up a bit further. So when I build the rest of the embankment, it should sit nicely. So this is just all in the early planning stages really, but I fancied having this bridge across here, but then there was nowhere for it to connect to, so it looked rather silly. But I thought, well, it could be an old bridge that was used years ago, and it's not totally useless, it's still being kept because it's access to the TMD. So that's also what I've been doing, is actually providing some access, be it only sort of boarding, sort of duck boarding across the tracks. I thought it would be a feasible explanation why the bridge is still here. So I'm going to have some railings with a locked off gate, so only the maintenance guys can access it, and hopefully I can use it with the embankment. I'm going to continue on down here. The boarding across the track isn't finished yet, but it's made from the wedges you can buy for laminate flooring. Just wedges you can break up and sort of bang into the laminate flooring to stop it moving. You can get these in brown sometimes, like these are, and I've just been cutting these about and using them as boarding. I've got to weather them, paint them, weather them or whatever, and make them look a little bit more realistic. But I've only just done this, and we'll see how it looks when I finish it. There's also signage and railings and other stuff that I need to add, health and safety stuff, because it's going across main lines. But I thought this wasn't a bad idea. When you go through this sort of building process, it's like you're trying to tell yourself a story in your head, really, of why something is here, and to try and justify it as if it makes sense. So, as I said, the story is it's a disused bridge mainly, but giving access to the TMD. More thoughts on why this bridge is here. Maybe it was a farmer's bridge to his meadow in the distance, which is now a TMD. But maybe they provided him with a bridge when the railway first came, which also crossed the canal, which would have been there before the railway. So maybe it was just to keep the farmer happy. They put in a nice little stone bridge for him. But since then, he's been bought out, or at least this part of his farm has been bought out and turned into a TMD over the years, leaving this bridge pretty much redundant, but just a minor access, if needed, to the TMD by staff only, and protected with fencing and that to stop people climbing on the railway or vandalising any of the railway. Well, that's a story I'm making up in my own head to believe this bridge would be here. It's a nice bridge and I fancy it sitting on the layout just to give it some depth. I plan to have fencing all the way along the bridge against the walls to stop vandals chucking bricks onto the railway line. Also a load of undergrowth and weed, just narrowing it down just to a footpath, really, to a gate at the end. So hopefully this will be sort of believable as a disused bridge. I thought I'd have a go at doing this because I wanted to portray some of the gritty, sort of horrible infrastructure that used to be around in the 1980s, and in some ways is still around today. But iron railings and sort of derelict, sort of disused areas. This is just a mock-up of what I'm hoping to do. I mean, it's not anywhere near finished. It's just to give me some ideas. But I want to have a few of these sort of messy areas on the layout that would have been very prevalent in the 1980s. Maybe I might even have a few yobs on the bridge, or a train spotter, or even a farmer with his dog reminiscing over the farmland he used to have in the distance, which now is just full of hustle and bustle of trains being repaired and maintained. Another thing I'm thinking of doing is electrifying two of my top loops, and I've ordered myself a class 90 to begin the journey into electrification. This might be a bit of a can of worms and going to cost me a bit of money, as I've also ordered a bit of cantinery to start me off. The irony of it though is that class 90 is stuck in the post, and it's a post or a mail sector livery to pull my mail train, but it's sitting in the post somewhere even though I paid special delivery for it. Hopefully it gets here soon and I can add it to the layout. Christmas is starting to take shape in the the village in Woodhill Park. They got their big Christmas tree up this year, and Father Christmas has just got out of his Morris Minor, thinking about where he's going to deliver some of his presents. And the postman's delivering letters. As this is the 1980s, the postman is a nicely dressed, uniformed guy and a pillar of the community, as they used to be. It's a shame how things have changed, but I suppose that's progress for you. A couple of days have passed and my Class 90 has finally turned up, and it looks like it's in one piece, and I'm now going to introduce it to the layout. I've got her running on the layout. I'm about to run her in. Had a bit of a scare. I couldn't get it to move, and I thought there was something wrong. If you put the sound on it, it wouldn't move. But I've established through looking at the manual, which I should have done to start with, that you have to push either F6 or F12, and F6 puts up the pantograph, which in reality would be the only thing that would allow it to move, but S12 also allows it to move as well. So if you're moving it through tunnels to start with without adjusting the pantograph, you don't need the pantograph up with F12 and it'll move. But I didn't realise that, and it just sat there and didn't move with sort of sound on it. When I turned the sound off, it moved. I thought there was something wrong with it, but just shows you, typical man, didn't read the manual. But in this case I should have. But the pantograph's amazing. Just press F6 and up it goes. Quite impressed with that, but very easy to damage. So I'll be running it with F12 at the moment, with the pantograph down, which won't be very realistic until I get the pantograph the right height. My first electric loco. I decided to buy this because I wanted to electrify some of my layout, and I wanted at least one example to work with, but I've been biding my time, and I just come across this mail sector version class 90 loco, and it was in a bargain section of a model shop, a family model shop in Yorkshire that I've used before, called KJB Models, and I've had very good service from them, and I thought I'd take the plunge with this because they were selling it £100 cheaper than a lot of other people, fully fitted with sound. And as the pantograph needs a special DCC decoder anyway, I just weighed it all up and thought it's a no-brainer, because if you was to buy the train on its own, I think it can be as much as £179, and decoders nowadays, sound decoders, can be £120, so you're getting on for 300 odd pound, whatever way you look at it, and other retailers were selling this for £300, but this was in KJB Models bargain section for, I think it was 229 or 39 depending where you bought it, and I went direct to them and got it for, I think it was 229, which is about £100 saving over everybody else. So very pleased with it, and very pleased with the service. Their service has been second to none. The only thing what screwed anything up is just the Royal Mail strike at the moment, which got me a little bit worried whether this was going to make it. But very impressed with the model so far, and the service I got from this model shop. I won't hesitate to use them again. Now all I have to do is wait for the catenary to come from Scale Model Scenery that I ordered it from, which is stuck in the mail as well. But it's nice to have the loco and get her ready for the layout. Another Christmas present to myself. So I've told my wife and family I don't need anything this year. I think I've spent enough. Right, I finished running class 90 in and just need to couple her up to her mail sector coaches and then take her off down the layout. It's off she goes. First trip round the layout with coaches. Another thing I need to alter on the class 90 is, as well as the pantograph height, I need to alter the linear braking. As the braking is such a long distance, it actually takes probably the length of my layout to stop, and that's from a sort of scale speed of probably about 60 or 70. So it is somewhat dangerous, as unless I press the stop button, it's a job to stop it quickly. So I'll be changing the CVs for that. Otherwise, everything seems to be running really well. Having this on my layout is really pushing the timescale a bit, as I think they only really came into being in sort of 1991. But I thought it would be nice to just introduce an electric train that I found useful with a rake I've already got, and just to have a point of changeover as it was going into the I think it's sort of res, isn't it, the private sector sort of mail running. I'm going to run over the mixed rake to add to that story, really. So there's changes afoot when it comes to the travelling post office. In my next update, I hope to have made some progress on this bridge and the rest of the embankment, but it might take a while because the temperatures at the moment are not really conducive to gluing and general scenery modelling, as they're too cold. Everything takes forever to dry and can be a real problem, so might need to let it warm up a bit before I do any more scenery. And we got January to come, so it could be a month that I don't get a lot of modelling done. I've actually got a grand plan one day to actually add a bit more boarding at this end of the layout, and instead of having a quarry, turn it into a coal yard, so I can use it as a distribution area. As when I was at the Great Electric Train Show at Milton Keynes, there was a layout there with a nice coal yard, which you might have seen in my update from Milton Keynes, where I've got it as my sort of thumbnail. I think I've got it as I was very impressed with it, and I would like to build something like that in future at this end, but that's quite a way off yet. Just future thoughts. Also, before the station there's a crossover at this point here, and it does give me a lot of trouble with shorts, but I don't really need it. I hardly ever use it, and I'm just thinking of replacing it with an express point. It's not an urgent job, and it's just another one on the to-do list, and it's probably one I'll do in the summer as things will dry better when I work on the ballasting. But it is an annoyance, and it's something I want to put right to make the layout run a bit smoother. It will maybe make it look a little bit less complicated in front of the station, but it'll be more practical. It will allow me to take trains off of the lower loop, upper loop, and shuttle them into the station on either line over this side of the station, whereas I can't do that at the moment because the crossover won't allow me to do that. But if I do replace it with the it slipped my mind at the moment, the crossover with the variable sort of points, I've forgotten the name of them, but if I replace them or replace it with that, they're trouble as well, and it's totally unnecessary. It doesn't need to be this complicated at this point. I've got a rail and going this way, which allows me to shunt trains onto this line anyway, so I don't need it. I want to update this bridge. I want to make it look a little bit more interesting and a bit more intricate. Some of the ironwork, it looks rather boring. That's just another thing I need to get around to doing. And some of the retaining wall, revisit some of that. It's endless things to do, really, but that's the beauty of it. It certainly gives you plenty to do. Also, I still need to work out what I'm going to do with this area, and if I'm going to have the upper line electrified, whether I want sort of a slight tunnel or not bother, maybe just a high bridge with traffic going across it and then a scenery board behind it. I've been thinking of doing that from early stages anyway, and I just started sort of getting more complex, which I think might cause me trouble if I electrify the top. This is the area that is all going to be electrifying, and all the way round past the TMD on the two inner circles. The ARP signal box kit that I'm making, that you will see in this update, I mean, it's in the early stages of being made at the moment. It's just something I pick up when it's too cold up here to do anything, but I plan to have this at the end of the station when I do the station revamp, and I get rid of this piece of track that comes off to the crossover. I just thought that would look quite good, and I've seen quite a few stations with an old wartime signal box actually joined to the platform at the end, and it does look quite good. I've got lots of things I want to do on the layout, and I'll probably be revisiting this video and going through it as a to-do list, really, just so I can remember all the bits and pieces I do want to do, because I do forget on occasion what I was going to do next, and move on to another project, and then remember later on that I wanted to finish something else. It's a lot of bits and pieces everywhere, really, so it's good having these updates myself to revisit them and look at the to-do list, you might say. On top of all these bits and pieces, the future also means playing with the signalling. I've got to work out point motors still here and there, and lighting of the layout is just a ongoing thing as well. When I do the station revamp, I want to do all the lighting on the station as well, so there is endless work to do, and it's great. I don't think I can carry on working though, because I haven't got enough time in the day. I must retire. All these are best laid plans for the future, but as you know, with modelling, it sort of takes you in many directions, and sometimes it can take quite a long while to get to complete what you actually want to complete, and it was quite dependent on the weather working in the loft, so I will get there eventually, but that's all part of the fun of the journey, really. I've only actually been building this layout since the middle of COVID, and I think it works out about 2.5 years since I started building this new layout, so I think I've come on a long way, and I've got quite a lot of the scenery done. Maybe at some points a bit rushed, in which case I will be revisiting them, but I don't necessarily like bare bald everywhere. I must admit, I can't wait to get some scenery in place, so here and there I may have rushed things, but you can be sure I'll be looking at things again and revisiting them, as that's all part of progress when it comes to modelling. I like to utilise some of the stuff, like second-hand stuff from toy fairs and stuff around the house and whatever, to make stuff out of junk, pretty much, as it saves on the budget and allows me to buy some of the more prestigious stuff on the layout, which, you know, does cost a bit, and I'm going to have to rein it in soon as I head into my retirement. That's the plan, is to have everything I want as I retire. But it looks like I spend quite a bit of money, but I do save here and there on just playing about with bits and pieces. But I haven't got an endless budget like some people, and I don't earn anything at all from this channel. As of now, I'm still not even monetized, so it's all down to me. So, you know, I just do this for pleasure, you might say. So hopefully everybody enjoys it and I enjoy filming and modelling, and that's the way I do it, really. But saying that, it is a lot of work, and it does take quite a lot of my time producing these updates. So if I'm a little bit sluggish getting them out, I've got other things in life I need to do which take up time, but I've got plans to carry on doing this. As I said, I enjoy doing it, and I'm glad other people enjoy it as well. Another cheap addition to the layout are these 4 wagons that I got from China after watching Sam's Trains, as I like watching his reviews, and he reviewed these and they look very good for the money. And sure enough, for £50 delivered from China, they're great. You know, I've had them out of the box, had a look at them. I do need to detail them, because you need to detail them yourself. But once I do that and weather them, I'm sure I'll find a place on the layout for them. So, really good. I'm afraid that's it for this update. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for your continued support of the channel and subscribing. It's much appreciated, and please keep on subscribing, because that does let me know that people are interested in following the channel. So I wish you a Merry Christmas again and a Happy New Year, and let's hope 2023 is a lot better than the previous years, as we all need some good news in the future. So cheers again, bye, see you soon.